Hey everybody, it's Eric Meyer, NASA Great Lakes Chief Instructor. I am here to do a video on the pitfalls of comparing good quality data from like a AIM product or equivalent to smartphone data. And if you're doing this right now and you're having some challenge comparing against yourself or comparing against some better quality data, and you're having a hard time reading these traces, I'm going to show you why. I'm going to tell you, hey, it's okay, and then I'm also going to tell you, stop using that smartphone and get yourself a good quality device. It's time to ask Santa for a AIM Solo or equivalent or ApexPro, which is something that I really like and that we'll be using in our HPDE program next year in 2019 and beyond. It's a very powerful learning tool that provides you some real-time data. So here we go. We've got a couple laps from Audubon. The red laps right here are from a smartphone device. And we've already discussed some of the pitfalls of a smartphone device, and that when you drill down and you try to look at the shape of the curves, right, of the line that you're driving, it's pretty much worthless because we know that we're not driving like that. So let's just get rid of that altogether and just keep it on here for reference to minimize it. It's quite worthless. We've got two traces up here, GPS long and GPS speed. Two of my absolute favorite traces, and I want to show you some things that the data is kind of good at, but not really. And that's this. If we look at just the speed trace right here, what we're seeing is what appears right here to be a couple different braking efforts because of the slope and speed. And this might be true because what we see up here is the brake pressure braking and then less brake pressure, which is typical of a lifting off the brake pedal with our right foot as we heel toe and then going back to brake. So we can probably assume that that's what that's going on because both of these support that in the form of, hey, we're braking and then we kind of brake at a little lesser rate. You see that right there, right? See that right there? So we can kind of assume that. But if we look at this next part, coming out of turn 4 right here, where you typically be accelerating, if we look at just the longitudinal G's, and they're positive, meaning the rate of acceleration is greater, we get something really quite weird. We get this value that would appear like we're lifting or not accelerating, right? It goes from 0.04 to 0.02. You could assume that's lifting because it's slowing down a little bit, and with the wind resistance at 80 miles an hour and the rolling resistance, you could assume that, but take a look at what the actual speed trace is doing. It's going from 79.3 to 81, from here to here. You see that? So trying to figure out what your brake or your accelerator foot is doing, which is really the value of this. Trying to figure out if you're braking or you're accelerating. It's not accurate because they don't line up. So you really can't assume much. Not even assume. You really can't confirm anything. The other thing that's kind of interesting is right here, and that's the magnitude of this acceleration G. If we look at this value right here, it says we're accelerating at half a G. Well, if you buy into that and you say that this braking marker is 0.8 of a negative G, this is one hell of an acceleration rate. And I just happen to know that because I know the data and that cars don't accelerate like that. And if we were to compare and put some of Bill Griffin's data on here and go back to the acceleration rate, you'll note that nowhere in here is Bill has anything remotely close to that at a car running several seconds faster. And so I know that data point right there is worthless. And if you look down here to kind of show this, it is very unlikely. And you actually see this in the speed increase right here. It's possible that this driver parked it and got on the floor. But if you can see here, they're both starting from 63 miles an hour. And there's pretty much no way that this car is squirting this fast. And Bill's crushing them down through here by several miles an hour. We can also see that the fluidity of this driving down the back straight, which is this green line right here, compared to the red line, I'm pretty sure that this car isn't accelerating in these various rates, the red line. So that's not real honest data, right? And I think we could say also, I'm just looking in some random spots right here, that that it's possible, but I really doubt it, that this red line is braking, getting off the brakes and getting on the brakes. I'm sure this is happening, but I don't know if it's happening to this degree, nor do we think this driver is going to that much abrupt throttle. We can get an idea of what Bill's doing with his throttle right here, and that there's a going to throttle. There's a little less throttle rate application, and he goes to more throttle right here. Here it appears that this driver is going to throttle, waiting, and then mashing the throttle again, which I really doubt that that this driver is doing that. So you really can't tell what your feet are doing here, guys. And if you can't tell what your feet are doing, how are you going to figure out how you're driving the car? You can't. So I would ask Santa Claus for a better data acquisition device, something with a much faster sampling rate, much quality data, especially if you're looking at your files on Track Attack right now. The smartphone data is really worthless. And conversely, better data will allow you to start finding time, isolate some areas of opportunity, and allow you to go out on your next session or your next event, pick that area that is low fruit and go attack it like a champ and lower your lap times, become a better driver. So there you go. Look into a ApexPro or an AIM device. Jeremy Lucas can hook you up from that, and we'll see you at the track. And I'd be happy to help you analyze and look at your data. I'm Eric Meyer. We'll talk to you soon.